half past the hour of 9 o'clock, and we are back with our conversations and, of course, into our last part of the discussion this morning. I hope you're okay, and I hope your morning is kicking off so well. It has been a busy Monday. Mondays are normally busy in Uganda here. When you look at the traffic madness that normally rotates around Mondays, it's a bit frustrating for the business community, and especially for those who are actually coming in from Ginger Road, those who use the Gayaza and Perere side. Entebbe Road, obviously one of those most busiest roads when it comes to Kampala, because most of the people who live, those are residential areas, so highly everyone is rushing in on a Monday to kickstart off their day. You may find out that you will be stuck in traffic for close to 30 minutes of your time, not only 30, even an hour or so. And at times on a Monday, a distance where you would have arrived by 8 o'clock, at times you will find yourself arriving late in office or at office by 9 a.m. So those are some of the things that you really need to prepare yourself for, especially on Mondays. If you party a lot over the weekend, or you take a lot of your relaxation to the weekend, the chances are high you are likely to reach late for work on a Monday. But well, maybe it doesn't cross-cut to the self-employed Ugandans who are more comfortable with opening their places of work at any time. But at least you get to realize that Mondays are a bit frustrating in one way or the other. Monday mornings and Monday evenings, same applies to Friday evenings, because most people are definitely rushing out of the capital to either go up country or anywhere close by to kickstart off their weekends and everything. But of course, to the business community, it is always the opportune time for you to utilize. But for those in the transportation sector, traffic jam has never been a good thing for them, or they've never prayed for a day to be filled up with traffic jam. And of course, we continue to ask the traffic officers who man this traffic jam and traffic flow to at least minimize on the time at which they normally stop vehicles for, because you get to realize that at times vehicles are stopped for close to 10 or 40 minutes before they are let to go. That's a wastage of time, trust me. But well, of course, as we continue to give you discussions here in regards to procurement overlaps in organizations, there's also an issue of investment, and investing is something that you should as well take as a serious venture. *292# is the USSD code that you can use today, as investment has now turned digital and more electronic than ever. With the Zabo platform, which is powered by Altex East Africa, you can easily kickstart off your investment journey by investing in government bonds and other available securities on that particular space. For those who want to invest in the government bonds, for example, the minimum amount is 15,000 Ugandan shillings, and you can select a preferred maturity period for your bond between 3 years, 6, 7, 8, name it. And of course, with Zabo, the markets open at 8:15 a.m. and closing time at 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. Well, that is between Monday to Friday. On Saturdays and Sundays, these markets are closed, and also on weekends. And by the look of things, the only weekends the only public holiday we're likely to have till next time is in 2 months' time. That is in the month of October. So that means you still have quite good time for you to kickstart off your investment and get going with investment. Well, I'm still with Herbert Mulumba as we discuss procurement issues and overlaps in organizations that have actually been led by, or that have actually been brought about by procurement scandals and all that. Well, Herbert, when you look at looking deeper into these procurement scandals, first of all, examples of procurement scandals that our viewers can at least relate to here in the country. And also, before we go there, you will as well give us, after giving us the examples of the procurement scandals that the viewers can relate to, we as well need to understand, do we have any case studies whereby, these procurement scandals have actually been dealt with, and we've learned from these lessons and everything?
Thank you very much. Traffic jam actually is one of the aftermaths of procurement overlaps, because take for example the famous express highway, or the northern bypass, was meant to be maybe a double dual road. But it took many ages for them to build the other extension because of procurement lapses.
Okay.
So even these traffic jams, the potholes you see, there's a procurement lapse somewhere, because like I said,
it affects
each and every one. Either you are part of the process or not part of the process. As a stakeholder in the whole cycle. So, but to be exact, there are some incidences that have happened in this country that have shocked people. For example, the Katosi Mukono Road, that where the contractor was,
scandal,
it was a very huge scandal in the news. The contractor was fake. They were not fully registered in the country, as they claimed they were an American company. They had fake security bids and all those other things from forged bank accounts. They were paid a huge sum of, advance to mobilize, but all they would get, they also subcontracted another Chinese company, and they also brought some junky caterpillars and placed them on the road. That was a very huge one, but we thank God that was captured at a point where PPDA came into it, and they had to do an administrative review, and they had to act quickly. And it was a very good case study, because millions and millions of Ugandans was lost because of that overlaps. But the turnaround was a good thing, because they were able to get a new contractor who actually has done a good job with the construction and the compensation and all the road now is taken shape and all that. But there are many others. The construction of dams, many would look at how they have done. For example, I would give an example people don't know. The construction of the workers' house is a very big scandal. Up to this date, there's a company that is holding onto the land title of the workers' house because of procurement overlaps. A Kenyan company and a Ugandan company, are fighting over who owns the land. Who owns the land? Who was supposed to construct
the workers' house?
Yeah, because through the PPD Act, a Kenyan company was contracted, Alcon, to come and construct a workers' house. But they weren't able to do that. So a local company, which is in their names, a local sister, I think these are brothers and of holding this company. Yeah, so took charge. So they constructed the workers' house, and they wanted to be paid. But for the payment, the Kenyan guys were like, no, we are the ones who have the contract. You should pay us. So that battle has gone on for years. It has gone into arbitration in the UK, and we have lost a lot of money as workers, actually, as workers and as a government. Up to today, it's not resolved. So there are some of the things that exist that have not been resolved, and there are some that have actually been resolved.
Okay. And what are some of the key challenges or obstacles that organizations face when attempting to address procurement overlaps? At times because once such things happen and you don't want it to go overboard, you rush. There's that rush kind of situation, and you want to cover up a little bit more of the same, and you're like, what, I need to do this to make sure that this doesn't affect me in the long run. What do you think are some of those particular challenges?
Thank you very much. The first is a human resource challenge, because we lack professional people in the sector. We lack professional procurement officers, procurement managers that are fully educated, fully constituted, and fully under a professional body. That's number one, because everything is human-based. It's a resource-based. That's number one. Number two, even those human resources that we have, there's a challenge called change management. They do not want to move from one system to another. There are people that are stuck on paper-based system, that if you tell them now we have introduced an e-procurement system, they'll think maybe they're going to lose their jobs, or they don't want to go because they're not any familiar with. You find that in a procurement office, the procurement officer has stayed there for over 50 or 30 years. They've been maybe an intern, and they've gone and they don't want to move, and they don't know even how to use computers. The other one is we lack a biting law, a biting policy. You see all the laws in Uganda, the way they make them, they're funny. We have many laws, but none of them are biting. For example, in the recent, you've had musicians talking about their copyrights and all that, but not enforceable. The same, we have many laws, very good laws, but we lack one which bites. For example, if there are no overlaps, we want to see, there was a recent scandal in the Ministry of Trade. You've heard of it.
Yeah.
But is there a law that can come in? Can PPD announce itself and come out and say, oh, no, as the PPDA, this is what we're doing? Because the way even the PPDA works, they have to make an administrative review, a committee that will sit and give results. But that's one other thing. The other challenge is that the authority that's in place to man and supervise and oversee the procurement processes in Uganda is understaffed. It does not have the powers to do many of the things. They cannot audit all the public and disposal entities. You see, through an audit, you can find out some of these lapses. Like if you do routine audits or annual audits, you get. So that way, maybe they would do that. But the process themselves cannot doing any good to make the process easier, because the processes are tedious, they are long, and they have many vulnerable points. Through the planning, people insert many things they do, or they plan more and they buy less. Through the bidding, it's a long process. Many people sneak in all kind of documents. Through the payments, through the evaluation committees, there's a committee that sits that people pay off and they will give evaluation. There's lack of sensitization to the people. Even the stakeholders, the people need to know that this is how the procurement works, this is how we get value from it. But at the end of the day, because all the money is for taxpayers, it's the same money they use to procure goods and services. But because of the lack of knowledge and awareness about the procurement procedures, you just see the road coming to your home, but you don't know, the procedures they went through to obtain the contract. Okay. So those are some of the key things that, challenges that are faced. People challenge, process challenges, the law challenge,
yes,
and the environment that we're operating in, because people have this perception, if you work in procurement, most definitely you're corrupt. I myself am not, but if you get a procurement job, your family will look for you, everyone will look for you. People have that perception that you must have money. Like the perception on lawyers, if you're a lawyer, you have to look a certain way, you have to drive a certain car, you have to be in a certain lifestyle. So even we need to do a lifestyle audit. You see, if this person is a procurement officer, why does he have an arcade, or why is he driving a Mercedes Benz when he's being paid 400K? But the same thing as well, that the people need to be paid well. They need to do a salary survey and see other countries, how do they pay procurement officers, such that if you're paid well, maybe you wouldn't be tempted to take. But also professional. We need schools, business schools, universities teaching professional procurement courses, and also engaging international bodies like the Standard Institute of Purchasing UK, and so many other bodies that can, improve the skills and the professionalism of Ugandans.
Well, how about, you've mentioned enacting or revisiting the law,
yes,
and or amendment. Besides the amendment, are there any other legislative or regulatory proceedings that the government can actually utilize, to address procurement overlaps, and how will they mitigate such issues? By the way, if you're to look at it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think when they have to reform, we have a Uganda Law Reform Society. I hope they are watching. If one of them is watching, these are some of the key things that they need to pick. The PPD Act immediately needs a serious reform. They need to remove all the redundancy and to avoid all these overlaps, that's happening, because it has to be synced up with the current realities. And if they don't do that really quick, it will be in big problems. But you see, there are key stakeholders in this process. We have suppliers. We haven't spoken about suppliers, because suppliers need to be also educated on how to prepare bids, how to do all those things, how to avoid all these other, nitty-gritties. But besides the PPD Act, there has to be another law, that maybe anti-bribery law, that is biting, that if you're caught taking a bribe or receiving a bribe, it will bite you. That would work together with the PPD Act. You get what I'm saying? Then we have the public service law, that, a public servant, what's the minimum wage, how much should they be paid, and all these other things. Then we have to have a law for e-commerce. You've been talking about Zabu.
Yeah.
But, in Uganda, I don't know if that law has been passed for e-commerce and e-payments and e-gateways. That will facilitate electronic payments, will facilitate all these payment gateways that are available. Those will help the PPD Act. You get what I'm saying? The PPD Act in itself cannot operate in isolation. It has to be a payment. There has to be a professional standards body enacted. There have to be a payment system. There have to be environmental standards, health and environmental standards, because once you compromise on the goods and services, then ultimately you're compromising on the health of the people. We're talking about the sustainability of this country, environmental protection, and all these things. So all these laws have to be enacted to assist.
All right. Besides looking at procurement and everything, your recommendations on to the procurement officers as we tried to sum up with our conversation this morning. Your recommendations to the procurement officers, especially those who take on the government deals and everything. What should they have in mind? What are some of the key things that they need to work upon? And then also your recommendations to what the government really needs to do to address in general these particular overlaps.
Thank you very much. I think number one, for any organization out there, even the government at large, you need to get outsource some professional help, professional services. We have companies and consultants in Uganda that can help you draw up a procurement procedure. Like myself, I do. We can help you draw up a procurement policy that can help you structure your procurement very well. There are tools that are available. There are procurement tools that are available that you can use. For example, you can have a standard off-the-shelf procurement software like Procurement, Procurify, and many others that you can, just like accounting software that you can pick and you can install. That way it can help you manage the process. The other thing is hire professional people. I know each year these universities in Uganda are graduating procurement professionals on a year. So you need to also hire the professional staff. You have a good policy, good procedure, you hire professional staff. That is for the private sector. Now for the government, like I said, they need to reenact the PPD Act, make it to be an up-to-date law. Number two, they need to enforce the EGP system that has been put in place. They need to register all the vendors. They need to, publicize it and hold stakeholder meetings and seminars and teach these suppliers how to register onto the system, because that way to create transparency. Because even the suppliers have syndicates. The way they play with to manipulate the bidding process, they're paper-based. They can collude and say, last time we took this bid, this time let me take this bid. So they do the paper. But for the e-system, everyone submits their own, and it's opened in an e-auction of sorts, where everyone's bid is seen and all these other things.
By the way, I overheard what the permanent secretary to the Treasury, remember that Gobi mentioned earlier, the launch of the budget week, budget month, that this time around with this platform, everyone's bid is supposed to be seen.
Correct.
So it's for transparency and to eliminate the mind games.
Correct. So that is one aspect, and they should enforce it, because now they've only implemented it in key selected entities like KCCA, URA, and all these others that and some other they need to. But it's a homegrown product made by a group of guys here under the Ministry of ICT. So that's a tick for them, because the first procurement of the e-procurement system also failed. There was an European company which was issued to do a procurement system for Uganda. It failed and we lost some money. It was about $2 million about. But you see, that in itself also trying to procure a solution, but there was an overlaps there. So we need to get laws that bite. It's the only thing that we lack in Uganda, because we have somewhat professional people, we have laws, but they're not biting.
Okay. All right. Now, how about your final remarks as we're winding up with our conversation here?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think procurement is one of the mistaken subjects in the country. People think when you talk about procurement, you're talking about money. It is true, but procurement is big. Procurement is bigger than just money, because procurement has reached a point when it's a strategic subject that that all management, all governments should consider. And like I keep telling people, there's what we call value for money. If you're a taxpayer, you pay tax in one way or the other, you need to follow your money. So you need to follow for value for money. So we need to get quality services and goods for our taxes.
Okay. And of course, my guest for this morning has been Herbert Mulumba from Procurement Worldwide, Uganda Limited. Of course, our discussions were looking deeper into understanding the overlaps within the procurement proceedings in the country. Huge discussion, obviously. And you get to realize that procurement has, these overlaps have a way of affecting Ugandans in the long run. Not only that, but when you come to think of it, it is something that is wide indeed. Wide, as you'll definitely been able to see. Of course, we've not tackled everything within procurement, but at least we've broken down a few bits of the same. But of course, some of the experts do believe that procurement can, as itself, be a policy framework for development in Uganda if we have handled well these particular deals, especially within the private, rather within the public sector or in public service. So there's a lot of desirables within the issues to do with procurement conversations, but we can leave that case to bed for the moment this Monday, the 10th of July. I wish you all the best for the day though, and of course for those who have been part of us from where we started, many thanks for joining us. As we're signing out, remember to download the Smart Digital app. That is on iOS and Google Play Store. You can easily watch Smart 24 television anywhere, stream, and of course listen to NBS Cordeo and Smart FM anywhere you are at. But not only that, remember to kickstart off your investment with the Zabo platform. Use the USSD code *292# as you kickstart off your investment journey with Zabo. Zabo is a platform powered by Altex East Africa, and it does remind you to always do something new. Remember, registration with the platform is simply by using your national identification number, and immediately you're done with registering, you will be able to invest in the next 24 hours. Minimum is 15,000 Ugandan shillings, and you will definitely be taking this particular journey of investment to the next level. Zabo, my money, my future. Altex East Africa says do something new. Well, I'm Jerome Paul Sonko, and of course the show kick-started off at 6:30 a.m. with the news recap. Later on, Andrew Barija took you over from the hour of 7 o'clock. And this is Smart Means Business. Till tomorrow, have a good day. Good morning.